Right then, this is a walk around video for a simply wonderful car and a very, very rare find indeed. It's hard enough to find Accord 2.4 automatics of this generation, let alone ones which have covered just 40,000 miles from new and in a condition to match. It is absolutely beautiful. It's not to say it hasn't got a single mark on it, that'd be a complete lie, but judged by a car that was 5 years old, it'd be in top condition. Absolutely amazing. This is a 2007 car. Fitted with the optional sat nav on the vehicle as well, obviously electric sunroof, all the goodies, black leather, and the conditions amazing. Obviously coming from Northern Ireland, part of the UK, so it's not officially an import as such, but it is a UK car. You can change that back to mainland Europe, UK plates, but I actually think it looks rather nice on the car because it doesn't age the car at all. But going around the car, front of the car is absolutely wonderfully clean, ridiculously slow. The lights and lenses are clear and intact, no cracks or condensation on them. Bonnet, extraordinary, it really is. I mean, there will be a microscopic chip somewhere, but you're going to have to look very, very hard indeed. Looking down the near side, I mean, it's just absolutely beautifully smooth in the panels. The only thing that detracts, near side front alloys are the ones that always do the bashing, and this is no different, but you could easily get the rim on the outside attended to. I'm not going to, because I want to keep the originality as much as I possibly can. And come around the back of the car, and I really do believe this has aged incredibly well. I mean, we're looking at a 15-year-old car now, and it still looks crisp and handsome. Then around the back of the car, and the twin pipes on the 2.4s always looks good. Absolutely wonderfully clean. Offside, again, amazingly clean in the panels there. No obvious indentations that I can see straight away, at least anyway. Offside rear alloy, again, just a light curbing, sort of curb rash as they tend to call it in today's parlance. So, and then the final alloy. Good, with just a couple of tiniest little marks. I mean, it really is an extraordinary car in absolutely beautiful condition. Coming to the boot area, absolutely huge boots on the car, and again in amazing condition. If you get the 60/40 fold, pull those little yellow tabs so you can sort of put things into the rear of the car. So finally coming inside, into the back first. Plenty of leg room, and the leather work is absolutely extraordinary. It is so clean. It's as though the back of the car's hardly really been used. Coming in on the front, again, absolutely beautifully clean. Electric adjustment on the passenger side seat there, and the seat again looks as though it's hardly ever been sat on. Let's come into the front on the driver's side, again, very clean and tidy. Same with the footwell areas. The driver's seat, and notwithstanding the fact that it has only done 40,000 miles, but it is 15 years old, and that seat is incredible. Inside the car now, as always, I have the engine running for this section, so the dash can be seen illuminated, which frankly looks absolutely as new. It's incredibly clean. Sat nav, you can see, working absolutely perfectly. It's lovely silver trim that you get on these later models, all in very nice condition with only tiny signs of wear. And then come across the main dash binnacle, lovely view you get as a driver that. And if you pan in, 40,055 miles recorded, no warning lights on the car at all. The only mark on the interior of this car, and it's obviously where they've had, it's got rear parking sensors fitted, so I reckon there might have been a light just there. There's a hole in the blank plate. You probably get a blank plate off eBay for nothing. But it is there. I'm just trying to pick on anything. I've been really petty, but there we go. Finally, just to show you, owner's manual pack and lock and wheel nut key are both here and present with the car. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and one I've been very much looking forward to doing. This is for a very rare car indeed. This is for a Honda Accord 2.4 EX automatic. It's a 2007 car with just 40,046 miles recorded. I mean, it really is an extraordinarily low mileage car. The reason, by the way, we do these videos, and especially actually this road test section, is because, like so many people, we've been to see cars which have looked absolutely fine in photographs and descriptions, only to get there and find out that there's something fundamentally wrong with the car which you'd much rather known about before setting off. So that's why we do it. Done on these very quiet country roads in this absolutely beautiful part of Gloucestershire where we are. This actually also forms part of the road test route that we take our customers on, and the reason for that is very simple. It's so hopefully then it'll be representative of what you feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, the reg number, I should go back to the reg number, shouldn't I? ULZ8502, obviously that'd be a Northern Irish plate, UK plate, so applies over here. You can get them changed back into mainland UK plates at DVLA by all accounts. So, but I actually think it looks rather nice in the car because you can't age the car in any way. But it is one of the later ones of these in the 2007. Before I start the video and go through the mechanical stuff like I always do, I will stick my hand up straight away and say I am massively biased, and the reason being, the 2.4 Accord Auto this generation is, aside from the Exotica, the S2000, DC2, NSX, that kind of thing, this is my favourite Honda ever made. And there's a reason for it, because they do all the bits of the car brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly, and it went completely under the radar when it was new, missed by the motoring press, as was generally the case, because they just had their firm favourites, and no matter how good anything else was, road tests were always going to come out in their favour. But I'll talk about more as I'm going along. But as I said, I will be honest about the mechanical stuff. I'll go through it. If there's anything not right, you will get to know. But I'm not even going to attempt to rein in my enthusiasm for the car. It's pointless. Starting with one of the best four-cylinder engines ever made. That's a fairly grand statement, but I think most people in the trade and in the wider public will know this. The 2.4 K-Series engine is in the Hall of Fame, and it really is an astonishing engine. Honda generally make the best four-cylinder engines in the world anyway, and what they tend to give you is reliability, long-lasting, nice to use, but this takes it all to another level. Reliability wise, nothing can touch them in terms of in their class. Absolutely incredibly strong. Long lasting, hundreds of thousands of miles is common in these things. I mean, I've seen some monster mileage ones, 200,000-300,000 miles, and still sounding sweet, with just regular good maintenance. And then you get to use it. It is a four-cylinder engine that feels like a six-cylinder because it's just got virtually no vibration to it at all. It is silky smooth, it's sewing machine-like, it's absolute genius. Most people, when they think of Honda VTEC engines, think of very high revving engines that do all the power at the top end but have no torque low down. This has lots of power at the top end, absolutely loads, and it zings through to the red line. But the difference is, at low speeds, it's got brilliant throttle response and natural torque. So just dawdle along at 40 now, squeeze the throttle, and it just picks up and goes. It is absolutely astonishing. It really, really is. But yeah, wonderful engine. Engine then feeds through into the auto gearbox. 5-speed manual, automatic. Gear changes are typical Honda, smooth, silky smooth, well-judged ratios to sort of get the best out of the engine in terms of performance and economy. And you can also tap it to the right and use a sort of sequential thing as well if you so wish, but most people tend not to bother, in all honesty, but it is there and it all works absolutely fine. Sorry, excuse me 1 second, I forgot to turn the phone down, let me turn that down. Then we come to what I think actually in some ways overshadows even that engine and that gearbox, the steering and the chassis. Starting with steering, which tracks absolutely dead straight, there's no vibrations at this speed, any speed up to legal limit. Going over this pitted surface, not a rattle, a thunk, clonk, anything. It just drives absolutely like new. But the steering, joy of joys, proper fluid power steering is absolutely gorgeous. If you drive one, you'll think, what on earth is he on about? Because it just turns in, it's nicely geared, no different to some other cars. But what it does, as the speed builds up, other cars can feel very kind of vague. They can still start to feel a little bit loose in hand or a bit over sensitive. This gets all of it absolutely right. It is wonderfully fluid, absolutely precise and accurate in the way it points you through the corners, and it works brilliantly with the chassis, because the chassis, I mean, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. It gives you this incredibly comfortable ride. I mean, the ride by modern standards is just ludicrously good. It absorbs those small imperfections far, far better than most cars. So, absolutely wonderful. These bumps here rattle your brains in most modern cars. That you can feel it, but you're not getting that shock come into the car. But where it comes into its own, I have to say, is when you start pushing it through some corners. It's astonishing just how capable a car it is, even by today's standards. It's not left, in some ways it's better because it's much more organic in feel. You actually get a sense that you're driving the car rather than being driven or neutered by, interfered with, it's got traction controls and various other sort of little nanny things that help you along. But when you go through corners like this, it just sits flat, you point it in, and it just all flows absolutely beautifully. It is amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm just going to give the brakes a bit of a thump actually while I'm at it, just to make sure no one's directly behind me. But nice and powerful on the brakes there, absolutely fine. What I'm looking for is any kind of pulsing or vibrations coming back through the brake pedal. It shouldn't be there, and there's absolutely nothing at all. So finally coming inside, it's just arrived, it's not been cleaned, and yet I have to say it almost doesn't need a clean. It's just been kept wonderfully well. What you're greeted by as well is typical Honda build quality. Not a squeak, not a rattle, everything's working perfectly. Electric sunroof, tilts, slides, electric windows, electric wing mirrors, sat nav functioning perfectly. Air conditioning's pumping out absolutely ice cold air, so absolutely fine. Heated seats, again, all working. Electric seats, all working. No warning lights on the dashboard at all. Temperature gauge at a third, which is exactly what it's meant to be. But this is typical of Honda. This is how they do their things. They don't design them just for, to give them to motor impress and work well for a month or two. They're designed to work for decades. And it's little things that I love, that when you turn anything or press a button in the car, it's got that beautifully precise actuation to it. It's just wonderfully done, and it just looks fantastic in here as well. It's a car that's absolutely perfect driving position, brilliant visibility, ergonomically sensational, and by stark contrast to modern cars with the ridiculous screens that they have in them now, which are just so distracting. You've just got to you spend most of your time looking away from the road rather than actually at the road ahead, trying to fathom out how to sort of connect. Well, I don't know, whatever you're trying to do. But anyway, it's it's just lovely to get into a car that operates as a car. It's got loads of goodies, really nicely equipped car, but doesn't interfere with you actually driving the car. Dash binnacle, typical Honda, beautifully legible display dials, very classily done. And again, it's just that you should just look at the dash, take information in, look at the road, and perfect in that sense. This lovely leather-bound steering wheel, and I love the fact it's of its age. It's actually quite thin-rimmed, and if you notice, most drivers of current days or previous years, they like to feel what's going on under the car, and you get that much better through a sort of thin rim than a fat-rimmed steering wheel, which can feel great in hand. But these, for the connoisseur, if you like, of driving, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I adore this car. I can't fault it. I'm trying to fault it, but with such a low mileage and such a lovely history attached to the car, it comes as no surprise to find it drives exactly as it should. And
if I had space, I would add this to my collection in a heartbeat. I really would. It's a wonderful piece of engineering. It's not cheap. It's not meant to be cheap, but it reflects the mileage of the car, its condition, and more importantly, how it drives, and the fact that it is a 2.4, it is an EX, it is an automatic, it is low mileage, it's got that history, it's got all those things, and it's in just beautiful condition. But it's for someone that will appreciate it, not for everybody. Quite clearly, we understand that. Having said that, if you've got any questions about the car, don't hesitate, do give us a call.